Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Respect My Nerds interviews. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest today. Oh, it's Roberts. Marcus Roberts in the building.
Yay, that's what's up.
Okay, yeah. Marcus, what's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Down here in Florida, survived the hurricane to live another day.
All right. All right. For those of you who don't know, ladies and gentlemen, I was trying to get Brother Roberts on like a few days before that hurricane happened, and we decided to reschedule because I was keeping my fingers crossed to make sure he was okay so that we can do this interview. So we are grateful to have him here. You should appreciate him, okay? You have it. Right. So, Brother Roberts, our first question is, who is Marcus Roberts? Let's talk about that for a second.
Well, Marcus Roberts is a longtime comic book fan, comic book collector, independent comic book advocate, staunch believer in independence.
Okay. All right. Where's Marcus Roberts from, man?
I'm originally from Georgia. Kind of been all around, halfway to the equator and back, and landed here in Florida. Once upon a time, I was over in Germany, and anybody who's ever been over there knows it snows like 7, 8 months out of the year. So I said to myself, when I come back to the world, I'm moving someplace where it doesn't snow. And Florida, only place.
Yeah. For those who don't know, it doesn't rain. It's sunny all the time in California, Los Angeles, and it never rains. So the difference between like Florida, my places in Florida and Southern Cal, that Southern Cal never rains, but it's sunny all the time. It does not snow. It does get cold as crap out here in Los Angeles. I will say that it's way colder than it would probably in like Florida. Anyway, back to it. Brother Roberts, what were some of the first comics you got to read, man? Let's talk about that for a second.
All right, well, I am what's referred to as a generational comic book reader. My father and his brothers, his friends, they all read comic books growing up. And we're talking about in the 40s and 50s, them reading comic books. So when I was coming of age and got my hands on the comic book, like around 4 or 5 years old, my father encouraged that. He bought me comic books. I was fortunate enough to come along during the time where one of the most popular books that was out, at least for Black people, was produced by Fitzgerald Publishing, the Golden Legacy series.
Ooh.
So
I've never heard of that.
Oh, you need to look that up. The Golden Legacy series. You got both the educational book and you got a comic all in one. It was about characters such as Toussaint Louverture, Harriet Tubman, Thurgood Marshall, even Buffalo Soldiers, Black Cowboys. I mean, it covered a whole plethora of real life Black figures, Black heroes, but they were in comic. So that's the thing that attracted me to them.
The Golden what now? To the what now? To the what now?
Golden Legacy. Fitzgerald Publishing.
Uh-huh. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Yes. 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 All right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I got it. I don't have it. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, no. I know what this is. I know what this is. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've heard of this. Sorry. Golden Legacy. Okay. Yeah. All right. Golden. And that was in when? That was the 60s. Wait, all Negro comics was already out by that time.
All Negro Comics, yeah, it came out in 47, 48, somewhere around in there. It was, of course, historic. It was groundbreaking. But the thing that really it did was it it portrayed blacks in a whole different light, a whole different characterization than what people were used to seeing. Because you got to understand, we're talking the late 40s. The image or the visual representation that dominated all visual media, whether it was television or magazines, it dominated the airwaves because back then we're talking radio. But that representation was that of the lazy, shiftless Negro. Now, the funny thing about that, the ironic thing about that, is that the first black millionaire in Hollywood was the individual who portrayed that character in the movies, who first portrayed that shiftless Negro character. Because he was like the person that was in all the films now. And he was the first black millionaire. But that image dominated comics. I mean, it dominated what people were used to seeing. It dominated the radio and broadcasts such as Amos and Andy.
Right.
So this is the mindset of the people. So to have something like All Negro Comics, where you got a character like Ace Harlem, or you got Lion Man, that was something that a portrayal people weren't used to seeing. So
right,
I can see why they wanted to shut that thing down.
Yes, haters.
But
they hate too much.
Oddly enough, publishers, there's a magazine called Publishers Home Weekly that issue 2 of the All Negro Comics didn't come out. They all of a sudden started producing comic books with black figures in it.
And what year was this?
This was Publishers Home Weekly, something of that nature. We're talking now 1949, 1950.
Yeah, this is homework right here. I told you, y'all, this guy very publishing something. What publishing? What now?
Publishers Home Weekly. I think their first comic was George Washington Carver.
Oh, haters.
And then I think the next one was on Harriet Tubman.
Haters.
But what happened because of that is somewhere around 1950, 1951, you get the 6-issue Jackie Robinson series. Jackie Robinson, the baseball player, actually had a comic book series. His face on the cover and everything. 6 issues. So you get that in the 60s. And then you get the Negro romance comics, which the importance of that is you had comic books dedicated to black romance that had non-stereotypical black people, not only on the covers, but in the stories. So once we started shedding that Step and Fetch It, that's the name of the character. Once you started shedding that Step and Fetch It imagery, then you really started seeing creative outbursts that really propels itself on into today.
Wow. Now, let me talk about like the All Negro Comics and a few other things here and there, which is awesome. But what about the 70s? You know Tom Floyd? Tom Floyd?
Yeah, Tom Floyd and the Black Man comic that he did, which is considered actually the second comic to feature a solo comic to feature a black character, because the first was Eben.
Yeah, Eben.
So
Eben came out in the 60s, right?
But Eben came out in like 70. And then Tom Floyd. Larry Fuller did the Evan. Tom Floyd and Black Man came out around 71. And then you had Luke Cage coming out in 72.
So they all kind of I said Marvel kind of copied the blueprint from like former black comic companies. So now that's amazing. Now okay, I'm like, Black Panther comes from Lion Man, even protecting a mountain full of ancient minerals, uranium, vibranium, but this is my issue. What I'll say, in another interview, they don't give credit or any reference to what they got inspired from. It's just like they just act like they just made it up on their own. And like I had one friend of mine who was trying to say, well, Marvel fought, or excuse me, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby fought Marvel to invest in proper inking so they can draw like black characters, better instead of the stereotypical characters. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure they read these comics, plagiarized off of them, so they like, nah, I don't know what type of ink they're using, but it's not what we have here. We need to get that. So, I don't necessarily subscribe to like, white people like drawing black characters.
Well, I will say this. I will say this, and giving credit where credit is due, particularly to Marvel. Marvel is really recognized as the precursor of the modern superhero era, moving past the images of Superman and Batman and whatnot with Spider-Man. Spider-Man kicked off this modern era that we're in even today.
Right.
The Spider-Man comic book was the most progressive comic book at that time ever done, because when you think about it, and this is the way it's been from day one with Spider-Man, J. Jonah Jameson may have been the person in charge, the head person at the Daily Bugle, but
right.
His vice editor or his assistant editor was a black man. There's always been a black man, Frank Robinson. J. Jonah Jameson, in his official capacity as this editor-in-chief of this huge newspaper, always had a black office assistant. Well, I guess we would call him a secretary, but it was his office assistant. It was a black lady sat right at the desk. The Spider-Man comic book, coming out when it did in the 60s, had more non-stereotypical black people in positions that you normally wouldn't see them in than any book.
Right.
But even adding on to that, we talk about the black superheroes and their origins and their roots. When you look at every black superhero from its inception up until the 70s, you see that they all were African, not African Americans, African. Sam Wilson, John Stewart, those were your first African American black superheroes. Hey, African American, because there was a character called the Red Mask. He was dark skinned. He looked like he was black. He was back in the early 40s, but he wasn't African American. He was just black. The very first black to appear in a comic book appeared in the very first comic book. The very first comic book was Mandrake the Magician, a collection of his comic book strips, all bound together in book form. Well, Mandrake the Magician was Lothar. Lothar, to me, I call Lothar the architectural version of Superman, because Lothar's powers was that he was impervious to man-made weapons. He was super strong. So he definitely was the archetype to that. But anyway, Lothar was African prince. Even in,
How you spell that?
Lothar. But even in all Negro comics, Lion Man was an African prince. Before Marvel became Marvel, when they were timely, they had the character Waku. he was an African prince. I mean, they were all these characters were heroic, and they were black, but they were African. They weren't African American. We didn't get an African American, I mean, an actual African American superhero until the 60s.
Mm.
Yeah, our struggle for identity was more than just seeing black faces. We wanted to see African American representation in the media. Now, once it got started, it really took off, but it was a struggle to get there because before then, the African Americans you saw were all these step and fetch it types. What's the name of the little black character from the All-Star Squadron? I forget. Anyway, yeah, you had these, as I said, stereotypical characters that you saw prevalent in comics. You didn't see the heroic type, or if you did see a heroic type, then he was, as I mentioned, African. So, but I call them all black because that's what we are. So the presence of blacks in the comic book industry has been there since day one.
Mm-hmm.
Even when the comic book industry had its first major split, when the underground comics came, the underground comic scene started essentially mid to late 60s and ran to the end of the 70s, almost into the 30s. But even with the underground comic scene, I mean, you had blacks that were represented in there, guys such as Richard Grass Green, that was churning out work in the underground. And then once that movement ended, he just moved over into the mainstream. And by the mainstream, there in the 80s, we were few and far in between as far as the presence of blacks, but it was still some of us there.
Right. Now let's talk about the 90s real quick. Give me a second. I'm still here. I'm still here. Let's talk about the 90s. Because in the 90s, a lot of black comics came out. Like, you got Brother Man, you got Ania, you got Household, you got Numidian Force, you got LA Phoenix, you got let me see here. It's a lot. Hero, Son of a Star. Man, you had a lot of comics. A lot of comics came out in the 90s. What's your preference like during that time? Did you have a chance to read like all the books that I mentioned, or
Yeah,
I know like
I actually own a lot of those books, not just from the Anaya lineup. And we had talked about this previously. Anaya, before it became the big entity Anaya, it was the 7 individual comic book companies, and they all brought their books in under that one label, Anaya. So, Roosevelt Pitt's Purge. You mentioned Hero, and then you had Horus, Omega Man.
Yeah.
I mean, they had some strong titles. The thing that I like to point out to people is that these books, these titles in the 90s were selling upwards of 40 to 50,000 copies. I mean, that's impressive. That's very impressive. I wish I had a book that sold half that much, but these titles were selling like that in the 90s.
Like hotcakes.
Yeah, they were. People were really buying them up. But even besides that, when I think about the 90s, I think about a guy like, say, John McKellen. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him on social media, but John McKellen's character,
No.
is right on tip of my tongue.
Got
But anyway, he introduced his character back in the 90s. And here John McKellen. And let's see, you got me walking. I got to get mobile now because I need to find this information so I can pass it on because I'm making a point. And the point that I'm making is that guys like Jibba Anderson and Horseman, these guys came out in the 90s. Andre Batts and Dreadlocks, their characters came out in the 90s, and here we are in the 2000s, and they're still out.
I can't find it.
Oh, I'm getting ready to hook you up right now because it's just a click away here. Or like I think about somebody like, here we go, Jonathan Fox. The Jonathan Fox series by John McKellen came out through Mariah Graphics back in the 90s. And there's 3 issues. He had 3 issues that he published back then. He and his company are important because, not because the book is still out now, but because his then wife was the CEO and publisher, making her one of the first Black female publishers in the comic book industry.
Wow. Okay, yeah. I've seen it before. It's on that link that you had gave me on Facebook that like a while ago, with like all the different Black comics that was out in the 90s. There's a lot.
There's a lot. There was a lot. Then the explosion that happened, I believe, was a direct result of that. What people saw at the end of the 70s coming into the 80s, because all these companies, both Marvel and DC, they started introducing more and more Black characters in order to in order to make more money.
Yeah. But I mean,
when you got
they set aside like a lot of those characters once they didn't really care anymore because people remember Milestone, but Milestone only was around for maybe 4 years, like legitly, maybe 4.
3. They were around for 3 years. Milestone, and a lot of people don't realize that their first run was just 3 years.
And that was it. And they tried to buy the characters off of them. But thank God, shouts out to RP Dwayne Duffy. Or wasn't going for that. Like, no, bro, you're not gonna buy my character. Not stupid. But Zuwana, that's who I was thinking of. Son of Zulu. Naval Edge. I think that's his name. I saw this video where he dressed up as his character and got on top of a building, and people were like, but it helped with his sales. It helped his sales go up, and they was doing a lot of stuff, man. Him, Roosevelt, all of them in the Nia, man. I just I wish they got more credit. And anybody watch this interview, if you get in contact with Nabil Hodge, H, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, you have to give me a call. I already interviewed Roosevelt Pitts. I got to get hold of everybody else. So y'all know them. Y'all tell them to hit Trayvon Copeland up. Okay? Thank you. Anyway, back to it, Brother Marcus. Back to it. Good time, Jaleel. Good time. All right. Yeah, man, 90s. Tribe. We forgot Tribe. I forgot Tribe. Tribe had sold like 1 million copies their first issue or something like that.
Yeah, their issue sold 1 million copies. And of course, they're not going to talk about it. They aren't going to get that recognition on a wide platform because of what it represents. It represents, Exactly. It represents black excellence. Now, it's sad, how things actually played out and ended after that first issue. But still, that issue stands as a example of,
Monument.
yeah, as a publisher, man, that's a goal that I'm working for. If I could get a book to sell 1 million copies, man, you can tell me anything.
Right. For real, man. Like like it's an accomplishment. And they were more of a black sci-fi. Like what no, no, it was a lot of, not I think, but it was a lot of black sci-fi now that I think about it. But nah, man, it's just I think that's worthy of just highlighting itself, and that's why I'm doing my documentary, Black Comic Renaissance, and that's why I'm just so grateful to have people with such knowledge like yourself, and Tony Cade, and brother Bradley Golden, you know plethora, plethora of other people, John Jennings, to talk to and educate me on things that I may not know. Like you already said a bunch of stuff I didn't know. I didn't know who a couple of these people were. I had heard of Jonathan Fox. And I'm actually, I got to ask Tony Cade if he got a comic called the Fox Chronicles, and I wonder if that was inspiration of Jonathan Fox, or it's just his own thing. But yeah, man, no, dude, Black Comic Renaissance, man, you're gonna be a part of that documentary. That's why we're doing this interview, and yeah, I think it's gonna be an awesome thing. Man. Get to kind of go back and reflect on just past predecessors. I plan on doing my own comic one day soon. I do plan on opening up my own comic shop by 2025 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
It is.
So that's gonna be a fun thing. And when I do that, it will then be 5 different comic shops in the North Carolinas.
I hear you. Well, one thing that I wanted to point out as you were talking, and I was thinking about like you mentioned the predecessors, the people who came before us, the people that helped us get where we're at, and all of that, man. We have to continue to have these discussions like you and I are talking. We have to continue to put this information out there, because what happens is, prime example, we just got through talking about Tribe and what Tribe did that, just no other book has done. They did that while they were a part of Image. But if you've seen any Image documentary, they don't have Larry Stroman up there and Todd Johnson talking to them.
Nope.
Like if I had, it's like back in the day having Michael Jordan on your team, but not telling anybody, not letting them interview, just send them out there to play. Go do your thing, boy, and I'm going to take all the credit.
Well, that's kind of their thing, taking all the credit.
Yeah, you don't hear them talking about that, and that's a major accomplishment. But because, once again, who did it, and because of who did it, that's not being highlighted.
Right. And that's kind of like my whole thing of, shouts out to, Milestone for, revamping themselves, something they've been trying to do, but there's other black comics out there, and I don't like that. That's a narrative, like, they were the only, major black comic company, and I'm like, no, they're one of the more successful as far as like having a longer run than other people, but they weren't the only ones, and they definitely weren't the most like interesting, because honestly, it's really static. Like people don't know who the Blood Syndicate is. Like if you're a '90s kid, like that was something I was trying to do on my Facebook page, and just educate the younger audience to like, a bunch of like, black characters. Some of them were milestone characters. They ain't know Static was a freaking comic character. Most kids that grew up in my era know Static from the cartoon, and call him Static Shock. And they
Yeah.
don't even know, like, no, it's not, Static Shock is the name of the cartoon. Character name is Static, but nah. Everybody, Static Shock, Static Shock, Static Shock. So, it's just like, damn, it was hard to try to break them into that. So to introduce them to Anita, to introduce them to, like, just other comics, like, it was a tough cookie, man, because, nowadays a lot of kids into anime, and I'm like, bro, them Asian people don't give a damn about us. You
But
going up to a Japanese man, go ahead.
here's the thing about anime and manga that is once again forgotten. All right, when the anime and manga first hit the United States and was really starting to make an impression, there were manga comic books that were being made. And one of the baddest manga artists alive, period, point blank. So much so he was called a master of the manga style. Reggie Byers, black dude. Reggie Byers was one of the artists that drew Robotech, among other things. His own character, Shuriken. He is called the master of the manga art style. And although people like to think that, the
Asians.
comic movement kicked off with Milestone, or even when they say it kicked off with Brother Man, which the Brother Man comic books came out before Milestone, I trace it back to the late 80s, 88, 89, with Reggie Byers and his company, Victory Productions. Because
Sorry, the Robotech music in my head. Pop lock. Pop lock on it. All right, I'm sorry. Robotech, wow. So you trying to tell me Robotech is my black dude or drawn by a black?
drawn by a black dude.
Holy shit kebabs. And see, there's no market, there's no media, there's no information for black success. Nowhere. Period. They don't ever talk about the prestiges of black people. Ever. And they don't never talk about that. I didn't even know freaking David Brown, did He-Man. Like he was over the storyboard for He-Man and amongst like other cartoons that was out at that time. Brown Hornet, he worked on Fat Albert and a bunch of other different cartoons that he worked on at the storyboard. So the success of that came from a black man. There's no like brand, like he's won awards and everything. There's so many different black people that's won something, and then there's no market for it. No market for it. They'll never talk about it. Ever.
Nobody talks about it. And the reason why they don't talk about it is because it's not enough guys out there like me that steadily throw this information out. I always talk about Reggie Byers and Victory Productions because to me, that's what kicked things off. I always talk about Lothar because the very first ever made comic book. I always talk about things like that because
they try to say it's Superman. Superman came out like 1940, 1939.
The very first comic book, you need to read this again. The very first comic book, the first thing ever made, first book ever bound together and called a comic book was the Mandrake Magician. It was a collection of Mandrake the Magician comic strips. That was the very first book. All of the comics that they made initially weren't drawn the way they do things, the way we do things now. They collected book strips, and they put the comic books together and produced the comic book strips in book form.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the first comic book, it was that Mandrake the Magician. And that was 1936, 1937, somewhere along in there.
1934.
There you go.
I looked it up, y'all. I'm cheating. I just looked it up. He's going off of actual knowledge, just general knowledge. I'm going off of something I found on Google. But listen, if y'all worry about my hair, listen, it's one of those days. Okay, it's just bad hair days. Okay, no, no, hang on. Wow, man, it has been so informative, man. Like I'm just like, listen, bro. I hope y'all appreciate this knowledge and this wisdom and um just learning. But all right, so we talked about a few things here and there. Brother historian, I'm definitely gonna be looking up brother Reggie Byers more. I got to look him up right here on Google a little bit, but that's amazing. But because we have some manga like now manga is starting to become a thing. Like where like black people want to start to draw mangas because there's a market for it. But my whole thing is like somebody like LaShawn Thomas. He did Children of Ether. Um, then he did Cannon Busters, which is Cannon Busters, which is his own project. And then he did Yasuke, and like he's a black animator, slash like manga creator. But there are a lot of black animators in today's society. Like it's this man named Malcolm Holt. He got this thing called I think Malcolm do Kung Fu is Dead. Like, dude, I'm gonna send you some stuff, and if he just had the funding, and he had a Kickstarter to fund this project, I'm gonna send you Kung Fu is Dead. Go on YouTube right now and type in Kung Fu is Dead. That's a black man's art. That's a black man art that he did. He was from South Africa. I think that's Malcolm. I think that's Malcolm Hope. I think that's Malcolm. If it's not Malcolm, then it's Wesley. Because Wesley did one called the Grand Mighty Pitka, and this basically like some kind of like Iron Giant meets Transformers kind of thing. Like where it's kind of like it's tech savvy. It's tech savvy. It's like a little girl on an island just meet this just meet this robot, and she just started getting into like trouble with this robot, and then like the government trying to like whoever it is that made the robot. Yeah, Wesley Lewis is a good friend of mine from the UK. Shout out to you, boy. Grand Mighty Picker, go find that. He had did like a trailer cover and just like pitched it, and that was back in like 2018, man, and nobody picked that up. So hopefully like I know Kevin has an animation studio that he's trying to like pick up a bunch of different black animations. So hopefully that gets picked up. That'd be really cool. But now go look up Kung Fu is Dead. Go look up Malcolm Holt. South African dude. He's a martial artist.
I just wrote it down. I'm gonna check it out.
I'm telling you, brother Marcus. I am telling you. If you see Kung Fu is Dead, like dude, that dude is style level good. He's amazing with just like the animation and like how he actually goes through the progressions of showing like the actual martial arts styles and everything. Man, that kid is talented. He just got to make money, and that's the story. That's the narrative of every talented black person out there. They got a lot of talent, and they can't fund their own thing. They got to go work under somebody else's umbrella. They got to go, like get somebody else money. And man, it's just like, shoot, we try to be like the Stephen Kings and what's that other crazy white man, Steven Spielberg. You know what I'm saying? Like when Stephen King wrote books, Steven Spielberg just did movies. We try to be like Stephen King of the world. Sit back and write a book and get it made a movie. Just write another one and keep that going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the thing about that is a lot of people do this thing and they want instant success, and it's not like that. I mean, it's just not like that. It's more like I'm old school. I'm an older dude, right? So back in the days, I was in the Too Short before Too Short became big. The only way you got Too Short music is he sold his stuff direct. He went to the record stores or he pulled up at a spot, and that's where he sold the stuff at, because he wasn't signed to a label. It's that kind of hustle, that kind of drive, that kind of work ethic that it helps you build. It gets you where you want to go. But Some people, they have the attitude like, I know I got the shit right here. How come people not throwing money at it? People ain't gonna throw money at you. You got to go out there and get it. You got to,
Right.
you know, they don't pay you for your material. They pay you for your work ethic and hustle. And that's the thing that's the step that some people miss out on. Yeah, what you have may be great, but people see you and see that, you're not the type of person I want to invest in because you don't have no work ethic. You want a one-hit wonder.
Mm-hmm.
They see somebody else out there with a work ethic that has something that may not be the greatest, but it's still good, and the person is working to do better and to make more. And they'll throw their dollars behind that because they know they'll get a return on their investment.
Right.
So
Well,
that's
speaking
that
of,
capitalistic attitude, man, that has to be understood. You gotta know,
mhm,
you gotta learn the game before you play it.
right on, right on. Right. So, real quick, brother Roberts, I would like to talk to you about some of the profound work that you're doing with brother Godum. I'll talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about Sonny, and I want to talk about more specifically Mississippi zombies. I love Mississippi zombies. Like, yeah, you understand. There are a lot of zombie projects out there, and just Mississippi zombies is just like, man, it's its own thing, one of a kind. It's great.
Well, the one thing that I learned, and I'm the collection editor there on the Mississippi Zombie booth. One thing I learned is that there's no such thing as a bad story. Somebody somewhere likes the story, that they like the story. So it's just a matter of fitting it in with everything else. And then we give the creators, the writers, the artists, we give them the freedom to go for what you know. Just go for it. Like, we don't put no handcuffs or no restraints on them. There's certain requirements because we're not trying to do zombie erotica or nothing like that. We're trying to do scary books, but
Right.
we allow people to go for what they know because we feel like they're going to tell their best story when they're left alone. If you're
Mm,
shoulder and trying to give them direction, well, no, your story's got to have this kind of tone. Your characters got to look like this. Your zombies have got to
mm,
look. There was a review done on Mississippi Zombie 3 where
mm-hmm,
the reviewer and Jeff Carroll's story. The reviewer loved Jeff Carroll's story, and one of the things he loved about it was the design of the zombies. He said, it's like nothing I've ever seen. I'm used to seeing people draw them a certain way. All
mm.
they look the same. But then I get to this story, and these zombies look totally different. And he loved that aspect about the story. So
Hmm. I like the black and white. I like the black and white, color. Like if I watched it as a TV show, I would want it to be in black and white as well. Like, I think that'd be crazy. You know what I'm saying? It just gives it like that creepy feel, man. Like, dude, Mississippi Zombies, bro. Um, I don't want to like give anything away, but I want to say this volume one. But there's a story in there, and it was kind of like talking about like how, the zombie apocalypse kind of broke out. Like, not every city got overtaken, and it was just a story of like how in that particular town how it broke out, and I was just like, man, good, good, good. And so yeah, bro, y'all get a chance to go check out Mississippi Zombies. You can find that on Amazon, right? You find it on Amazon, right?
yeah, yeah.
Amazon and I don't know, like yeah. But Sonny, I want to talk about Sonny real quick. We almost out of time here. Um, I want to talk about Sonny because Sonny is just like, it's not next. It's evil possessed doll Chucky, but it's not Chucky. his own thing. He's got his own personality, got his own characteristic traits. Like there's not necessarily like a lot of plagiarism other than this ideal of possessed out killing people. And I was scared shit. I was scared shit. I was scared for the little kid. I was scared for the little kid because like how it start and when I was reading these comics, I was listening to horror music. Like I like to do that. Like when I read comics, like I listen to certain music to kind of like just give me like a theatrical theme. I'm a visual kind of person, so like just kind of give me like a theme in mind. And so yeah, I would just listen to different horror music. And ironically, I was listening to like a Chunky soundtrack when I was reading Sunny. So it was really like
Sunny was fun to write because it's like you said, it's totally different from Chucky, and we made sure to put that difference in there. But it's still a little evil possessed doll. So it's like let's have some fun with it. Remember, I don't know if you remember this line in the movie, The Chronicles of Riddick, where Riddick is telling the homegirl Kira. She says to him, he says it's not a game, and she says, "Oh, but I like playing games. Mine, who's the better killer?" So me and Bradley play this game between each other and writing this book, and who's the better killer. So like he'll write his stuff, and I'll look and I'll be like, "Oh snap! You killed him like that? Nah, I got to go back here."
Nah, I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna get him. You better get him. You better get him. Gotta beat the competition. Competition was fail.
Oh yeah.
Gotta beat that competition. Gotta beat that competition.
Oh yeah. We playing who's the better killer all the time. But
listen.
Good story, man.
Listen, Brother Bradley put me on to so much stuff. I had a chance to talk to him like a while back, and we're trying to set something up. Hopefully, I don't know. Are we doing something this week? I gotta check my calendar. I think we might be doing something this week because I gotta interview Mr. Kamal Sharif about the Millionaire Force. That's gonna be later on today. But that's cool. And then like tomorrow, I think tomorrow, I'm interviewing. I think I'm interviewing Matt Jones, Void Beast. Go check him out. Matt Jones is amazing. Matt Jones is amazing, amazing. Like damn, and God, like it's so many. Like there's so many amazing like writers and artists right now. Like the fact that over 12 different Black comic books have been picked up for a movie or a TV show is true testimony to the content of like the success for the Marvel films. And Batman been doing it, individual entities, been doing it. But the most important thing is that Black people are learning to protect their creative control. So it's like, yeah, sure, okay, I'll do a movie with you, but you're not gonna come and change my character. You're not gonna, let's get some white people. No, they're not gonna, and that's the more important thing. I talked to like David Brown about like LA Phoenix. I talked to two people, man. They're like, yo, yeah, like they offered some stuff, but they were trying to, just find me off. And I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna, and I respect that. I respect somebody sitting on something for 30, 40 plus years, bro, because like, like them IPs are important.
They are. And that's why I applauded that the Black Sands for going on the show and getting the money, but yet they gave up 30% of their company.
Right, but 30% equity, they don't have any voting rights though. Kevin don't have any voting power. But he's still.
But 30% of your company. That means for every dollar coming in, you look at 30% of that. So I'm not trying to give up nothing.
Right, but hang on. My only rebuttal would be, it's Kevin.
I don't care.
Look what Kevin's doing. Look what Kevin sends out movies just as well as The Rock does.
What's that supposed to mean? I ain't trying to. I'll put it like this. Okay, like right now, you mentioned about the black comics that have been optioned for
Pick up.
movies.
Yeah.
We we are sitting on 8 titles that have already been picked up from my company. 8 titles. And we didn't have to give up no percentage to get it there. We're already in.
It's all about negotiations. Brother, you ain't telling me that. Like, you ain't telling me that. Like, that's news. Like, I got to do an article on that, man.
Yeah.
You ain't telling me. I mean, because I was kind of holding that because, Brother Golden was kind of telling me some stuff was happening with certain names that I won't mention. But the fact that there's 8, because y'all got a lot of stuff that y'all doing. I know that one project that y'all doing with John Jennings and freaking Rodney Barnes gonna be a part of it. Kevin Graveau gonna be a part of it. Like, dude, like, no, like, man, like, I know y'all got some stuff, man. Some
And
stuff. So shout out to the shout out to the to like what's the name of the company again for the people at home?
it's Second Sight Publishing, and that project that you're just talking about, the name of that is Shook, a Black Horror Anthology. And we actually have people who've already approached us about that. Like, hey, y'all talk. Yeah, they want this thing because we brought together some of the top black talent in the comic industry, period. Like you said, Rodney Barnes, David Walker, Kevin Grievous, John Jennings, Alvin Ball. We got me and Bradley in there. And then we brought in Evan Park. Evan Park, actually, in the movie 2005 King Kong by Peter Jackson, Evan Park was the actor who played the first mate in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Dude got over 20 years of experience in the Hollywood industry.
Mm-hmm.
Been in movies like Django and The Replacements and Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
But this is his first comic venture. So we were excited to give him the opportunity, to give him a shot to participate, because that's something that we do. The whole thing about Mississippi Zombie, the whole reason how Mississippi Zombie got started was that we wanted to create a vehicle for different independent comic book creators to get some type of light, to get some type of shine, to bring them in the stream. Because all the people who publish in that book now are considered mainstream publishers because the title is published mainstream.
Right.
We have 2 books, actually, the Mississippi Zombie and the Harvest of Horror series that we do.
Harvest of Horror. I haven't got a chance to read that because I read Mississippi Zombie, Sonny, and These Damn Kids. And I was going to say that for Brother Golden. But if you want to touch on that real quick, you could, because These Damn Kids, man.
Well, the Harvest of Horror series, just like with Mississippi Zombie, we wanted to have a vehicle where we could bring different independent comic creators in and have them be able to get into the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
So, we created this thing. The one right now, the Harvest of Horrors was sitting in the top 100 graphic novels. Actually, Volume 1 was like number 76. Volume 2 was number 77. And this is actually the second time that they were there. They were just in there earlier in the year. Issue number 2 got as high as number 36.
Wow.
Mississippi Zombie, actually, Volume 3 of Mississippi Zombie, actually debuted in the number 1 spot on Amazon Prime Canada. It went down to number 17, stayed at number 17 for about 3 weeks. So, yeah, we are used to having books hit that top 100. All 3 volumes of Mississippi Zombie have been top 100 graphic novels, horror anthologies. And we kind of got a feel for horror.
Yeah, I love, like, I said that, and Brother Golden was saying, like, horror ain't necessarily his thing. You got other ideas too, but man, God bless y'all, man. I tip my hats off to you, and I'm just grateful that you humble enough, to just come in and talk to me, man. I'm a lot like I think I got over 20 interviews now on YouTube from 2018 to like this year. Just that work ethic. So what you say about that work ethic? Like
Yeah.
man, when I get in contact with somebody, bro, I'm trying to set up an interview that week. I'm trying to set an interview up. I talk to you on Sunday. We got to get an interview done sometime like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Sometime that week we got to get an interview done. I don't like to. Oh, let's wait the next week. Give me 2 weeks from now. Give me a month from now. Like nope. I'll come back. I'll come back when you're free. Like nah, because like I'm trying to get it, man. Like a lot of content, man. Like people to come and learn and listen, learn from you. Like man, this interview, man. I think a lot of kids are gonna learn. It's probably gonna be something to get taught in like a class, a classroom, man. It's gonna be a course, just sitting down writing notes, just listening to some of that knowledge you have to pass on, brother. So like I really appreciate y'all and for what y'all done and for what y'all doing. And let me know when there's a Kickstarter. I'm donating. Let me know. Like, oh, real quick. My only suggestion I would say is Peak Game Comics. I always reference them to like people getting into like comic books. They got kids. That's like for you, y'all content there too.
Yeah.
That's just
Emmanuel Latif and I are real good friends. We actually have something planned that we've been working on here. It started really last year, but this year we really became more focused on it. And that is we've been taking time to identify what we call Black Key Collector comic books. And we will actually want to get all that information and put it in one place, like a little reference book. So, people can get this book and see not just the value of a book like the number one, the first appearance of Blade in the Tomb of Dracula. Man, that book sold for like $13,000. But you'll see different issues that have importance. The first appearance of Black characters, the different appearances of characters, because now that we have these television shows and have the movies, we've had animation for a while, but the prevalence of it is more and more. And now that we have the kids are asking, what comic book did it come from? Where did this person come from? Where did that person come from? And then be able to have a reference book where you can see that, okay, this person, their first appearance was in such and such a magazine in 1981 or whatever. So we've been kind of working on that, getting the Black Keys together.
right on. It's funny, man. An interview I had with somebody like back in like 2018, I'm trying to think what it was. But I was saying like, it's kind of hard to get so many different talented people to just come and be under one umbrella, but it is a lot easier to get individual people to come and work on a project. Because I was like, I think we stronger together, and imagine if just being under one umbrella, like I don't think there's gonna be another Nia or another Milestone. But there's that many talented people, collectively coming together, and working. Like, I don't think there'll never be nothing like that. But I'm grateful for what we do have. And yeah, brother, you got any shout outs? Any shout outs? Shout out Bradley Golden. Shout out y'all company. Like, any websites they can come find y'all on.
Always got to shout out Bradley, because there'd be no Second Sight Publishing without Bradley Golden starting this thing off in his basement as Second Sight Studios. And we can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just look up Second Sight or Second Sight Publishing. The website is secondsightpublishing.com. And you put Second Sight Publishing in, we're gonna come up. That's just that's our footprint.
Right on. Well, listen, brother. Listen, we are all out of time. I've never had an hour go by that fast before. I have been educated, brother. I just appreciate you coming, just blessing us with your presence, man.
I appreciate the invitation, man. Anytime.
Man, hey, y'all heard it here first, man. Y'all go support Second Sights, man. Y'all go pull that up. I can't. I forgot I was on stupid Skype, but like I was gonna show them. And look, y'all go pull up Second Sight. Oh, what the heck? How did it do that? How did it do that? What the heck was going on? Anyway, yeah. Anyway, y'all, it's been real. We up out of here, but y'all go support Second Sight. My phone is possessed. And thank you, Brother Roberts. Thank you so much for your time and being here and rocking and rolling with us, man. It has been real. Andamo.
Peace.
Peace.